Then let's look at this kind of questions that will call for a complex imaginary solutions. We want to solve this quadratic. We try the factoring method. Take our 10 and we look for two numbers. We multiply. That will give us 10. And when we add, we're going to get -2. Realize that it's not possible. We have to use another method. We could have used the completing squares. But let's check what we call the discriminant. The discriminant, it tells us how many solutions that we're supposed to expect. So we are using b squared minus 4ac. Now we know that the standard equation of a quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So here, this is our a and b and c. So our b is -2 and it's all squared minus 4. A, there's no number, so it's 1. And the c is 10. 4 minus 40. That gives us -36. And since we got the discriminant, or out of here we get -36, that tells us that we are going to have, we will say, no real solution. We are going to have complex imaginary solution. So let's write our b. That one we got that -36. It tells us that no real solution, but we are going to get imaginary complex solution. Okay. That means we cannot use the factoring method. We have to use the completing squares or the quadratic formula. So we're going to use the quadratic formula right here. That will make it easier, but as we're moving forward, I will use the completing squares to do it also. So here our b is negative. We got negative, then we got -2 here, plus or minus. We got this one already to be -36, so we put it here, -36, all divided by 2 times a, which is 1. Negative become positive, +2, plus or minus. So here, square root of a negative is going to give us a complex number. So we are introducing the I that give us that, so that we can get complex. So we got 2. The reason is that I is equals to square root of -1. So that's introducing it right here. So we got 2 plus or minus square root of 36 is 6. We bring our I here, we got 2. Then we simplify. So 2 divided by 3 is 1, plus or minus 6 divided by 2 is 3. Play the answer. One of the solution is going to be 1 plus 3i, and then the second one is going to take the negative. So these are the two complex solutions that we are getting from here. Okay, we want to find a solution for 0 is equals to 3x squared plus 2x plus 1. Realize that the 0 is on the left hand side. So far as all the equation, the quadratic equation is on one side, it's still standard. So it doesn't matter. We don't need to do anything. But if it is going to be confusing, you can take the 0 to the other side. So for us to be sure, let's find our discriminant to see what is coming out there. So the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac. This is our a, b, c. So our b is 2 squared minus 4, 3 times 1, 4 minus 12. That gives us -8. So realize since it's negative, we are not going to get a real solution. We're going to get complex solution. So here we got the discriminant to be -8. We write it here. So we are going to use this quadratic formula to solve it. You have to be familiar with this quadratic formula. So we have x is equals to if 2 plus or minus, we got a b squared minus 4a to be that, so it's negative 8 all divided by 2 times 3 negative. So we are introducing our I is equal to square root of negative 1. So here we bring our I, and then we have negative times negative 1 all over 6 negative 2 plus or minus. Since we have our I here, we can write this as 8. We get our 6. You realize that this is not a perfect square, but there's one perfect square that can go in there, which is 4. We write this one as 4 times 2 over 6. We got x is equals to negative 2 plus or minus. Square root of 4 is 2, and leaving the 2 behind, all divided by 6. And now we can simplify. 2 can go everywhere. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. So it's going to be negative 1. Here, plus or minus. It should be 1i, but we can just write it as I. Root of 2 divided by 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that's that. And then we can split the answer. One of them will give us negative 1 plus or minus. So the first one will give us plus I root 2 over 3. Second will give us negative 1 negative I root 2 all over 3. And we are done. All right, so we are going to calculate the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac. This is a, b, c. So a is 1, b is negative 2, and c is 2. So we plug it into the discriminant, and we got negative 2 squared minus 4, then 2. So negative 2 times negative 2 give us 4, minus 4 times 1 and times 2, which is 8, and this give us negative 4. For the discriminant, it's going to be negative 4. So because of that, we are going to get complex solution. Okay, so from our previous example, we have been using the quadratic formula. At this time around, I want us to use our completing squares. So we are going to rewrite this and take the constant to the one side of it. That's how we complete the squares. So we take the constant here, so it becomes negative 2. Now we take our b, which is going to be negative 2, and we divide it by 2. That's the process of completing the squares. I have done a video on that, so you can look at it. And then we square it, and we get 1. And we are going to add it on the both side of the equation. So let's go ahead and rewrite the equation. So we got x squared minus 2x, and then we get negative 2. So we are adding this on both sides. When we do that, here becomes negative 1. And here is a perfect trinomial. So we look at the constant, which is 1 here, two numbers we multiply, we get 1, and we add, we get this here, which is basically it's going to be -1. We're going to get -1, and we're going to get another -1. And when we expand away, we'll get this back. Get -1 here. It's repeated, so we take only one, and then we put it in some kind of vertex form. Now we are going to take square root on both sides, and we realize that we are going to get a negative square root to know that I is the square root of -1. That's something we have learned about it. So here we take a square root here, and we gotta repeat the same thing on the other side, and this goes away here. The reason because we want to get rid of that square. Okay, so we get x minus 1 equals to square root of -1. Our square root of -1 is I. Now remember, anytime you take a square root, we are expecting plus or minus. Should I put it here, plus or minus? So we get x minus 1 equals to plus or minus I. So now we want to solve for x. So we add here 1, and we add here 1. Okay, so here we got x is equals to, let me write this one first. So 1 plus or minus I, and then we split this to get our two solutions. So the first one we consider the positive, and then next one we consider the minus, and that gives us the two answer. Please subscribe if you have not, or if today is your first time watching me, and like the video, and see you in the next video. Be blessed. Bye bye.